Hi there, Mr. Rowe. Going over dividing by a mixed number. We did this today in class. This goes with uh, lesson 4-8 out of the textbook, so chapter 4, lesson 8. In class, we went through a 4-step process to do this. Step 1 was to convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. So if I had 3 2/5, what I would do is I'd multiply the denominator 5 by the whole number 3 and add the top. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17, 17 fifths. So 17 fifths is the same as 3 2/5. The second step was keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the first number, change the division to multiplication, and then we're going to flip the divisor. That's the number, the fraction we're dividing by, and that's called its reciprocal. 3, you have a choice here. You can go ahead and do the multiplication and then reduce whatever fraction is created, or you can reduce first and then multiply. I'm making the case for reducing first and multiplying because it always will leave you with smaller numbers to work with, as long as there's common factors you can cancel. And last, if you can write it as a mixed number, go ahead and do that. And that's just for making it as clean and also to practice. So let's look at an example, and from there we will see it in action. So here's a problem. I have 8 3/4. I'm going to divide it by 2 2/6. Now, before we even start this, I notice that 8 3/4 is close to 9. 2 2/6 is close to 2 if I round to the nearest whole. So this problem here is approximately 9 divided by 2. And that answer there is going to be 4. So this answer should be a little bit more than 4. It should be in the ballpark of 4. So here we go. Step 1, we convert. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 plus 3 is 35. So I have 35/4 divided by, let's convert this. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. So I have 14/6. The next step was keep, change, flip. I've been calling KCF. I'm going to keep the first fraction. I'm going to change the division to multiplication. And I'm going to take the reciprocal of my divisor. That is, I'm going to flip the divisor to 6 over 14. There we go. Now I've got a fraction multiplied by a fraction. And we multiply by fractions, just multiply across tops, we multiply across bottoms. If I do that, 35 times 6 is going to be 210, and 4 times 14 is going to be 56. So that leaves me with this division problem, 56 into 210. Okay, that isn't, I wonder if we can make this easier on ourselves. And I noticed that I have an even number on the bottom and an even number on top, so I can factor a 2 out there. And I notice both 14 and 35 have 7 as factors. So I'm going to rewrite this problem. Instead of 35, I'm going to write 5 times 7, so that's my 35. 4 I'm going to write as 2 times 2. I don't know if I'll use it, but I will. Maybe I should do an X here instead. 6 I can write as 2 times 3. And 14 I can write as 2 times 7. So I've broken these numbers down in their factors. And the nice thing about this is now I just look, do I have any of the same factors top and bottom? And yes, I do. I see I have a 7 here and a 7 here. So those can be canceled. 7 divided by 7 is 1, so that turns to 1, and this turns to 1. And I see I have a 2 here and a 2 here. So those both cancel to 1. So there's nothing else that's the same top and bottom. I have a 5, a 3, and a 2, and 2. So if I do this, now if I multiply, I have 15. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 2 is 4. That looks like a little more doable problem there. How many 4s can I get at 15? Well, I can get 3, because 3 times 4 is 12. If I do that, I have 3 left over, so 3 and 3/4. If we want to be a little more clear about this, we can go ahead and go 4 into 15. That gives me 3. 3 times 4 is 12. The 3 left over. So remember, this is 3 of the next group of 4, so my answer is 3 and 3/4, which I had here. Let's double check it with this problem. So how many 56 can I get out of 2? None. Right, so we'll mark a 0. How many can I get out of 21? None. How many can I get out of 210? Well, 50 times 4 is 200, but 4 sixes is 24. That'd be too much. So I'm going to use 3. 3 times 56 is going to be 168. I do this subtraction. Looks like I have to borrow from here. So there's 2 and borrow again. 42. So I have 3 and 42/56. Now 42, let me have to write it here. 3 and 42/56. I notice that both of these are even, so I can definitely divide out a 2. And that leaves me 3 and 21/28. Oh, look at that. I can divide both of these by 7. And I do that. I have 3. 21 divided by 7 is 3. 28 divided by 7 is 4. I have my 3 and 3/4 like I had here. Notice I divided out a 2, and I also divided out a 7. And those are exactly the same factors that I canceled out when I did this method. So in order to avoid having to simplify, in order to avoid having to do a division problem like this, I advocate that we factor and cancel. Let's do one more. Let's do something that looks more like this. What happens if we have, excuse me, so let's get this back in place. Let's do 8 divided by 3 and 3/4. Okay, so we only have to convert this one, so let's convert. That's our first step. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15, so I have 15/4. 8 is the same as 8/1. So 8/1 divided by 15/4. Then I'm going to do my keep, change, flip. So I'll keep this first, change this to multiplying, and then I will flip, and I'll get the reciprocal of this. I can simply multiply across if I want to. In this case, it looks like that's what we're going to have to do. So 8 times 4 is 32. Bottom is 15. So how many 15s can I get out of 32? Well, I can get 2. That's 15 times 2 is 30. And that leaves me 2 left over, 2 and 2/15. In this case, there wasn't anything common factor to factor out. I hope this video helps, and practice, practice, practice. You can do it.